and welcome to the Roll and Reflect podcast, the podcast where we bring you insights from behind the tabletop and beyond the box. I'm one of your hosts, Devon.
And I'm Mark.
Today, we are going to be talking about one of Mark's favorite things.
Yes, dice chucking. It's one of my.
I knew you were going to say that at the same time.
Absolutely one of my favorite things.
Great. We're talking about dice throwing today, and yeah, you're probably shocked. Why haven't we talked about this yet? Well,
True.
we kind of have, just in the little spurts and multiple podcasts, but we're finally doing a full episode. But before we get to that episode, we have a special reflection question from Andrew of the Family Gamers podcast that we would love for you to answer in the comments. So, Andrew, take it away, please.
Hello there, Family Gamers. My name is Andrew, and I am one of the hosts of the Family Gamers podcast. And I am excited to bring you a fun reflection question for the episode. Family is great. Sometimes they can even be a little competitive. Let us know below what strategies or approaches you have found that have been the most effective in balancing competitive gameplay with a positive atmosphere and experience around the table. This is a tough one. Let's continue.
Okay, so my family is not quite competitive, so I'm on the side of more of a casual, but one of my good friends, his wife's family is hyper competitive. And so when she comes over to our place, we're all over like, what is going on? Like, she's like scary, and when we like to play with her, but it's kind of funny because we all play so differently. So in our household, trying to balance that competitive is actually fairly easy, because a lot of the times when we're playing with those competitive players, we're just like, okay, well, they're gonna win. You know, it's like, we're going to play for second place and third place. What about you and your side of the family?
Yeah, so as far as the family goes, it's pretty light in general. Nobody really cares except for Anna. She doesn't really care about winning. She just wants to have a better score than I do. So that's all she really cares about.
Gotta beat you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but as far as the family goes, in general, there's not really that high. And especially since I mostly play games to just do all the things so I can talk about it. So it kind of has diminished the competitiveness, right? Unless we play, but if we're playing like a cooperative game like Dark Tower, right? We're highly competitive to defeat the tower.
Right.
All of us are
you versus the game.
Yeah, you versus the game, absolutely. But like in a group setting, conventions and so forth, I generally just try to keep things light. And I don't really... And I hate to even say it this way, I don't throw the game, but I'm not actively looking 5 steps ahead to dominate someone, because I figure being that hey, want to play a game with you? Sure, that'd be fun. I try not to make it too crazy, and not that I haven't seen folks just clean the table with stuff that I would not have been able to beat them because they're amazing at the game. It's just I generally try to keep the mood at the table lighter. I don't know if that's really a strategy, but I'm joking around. I'm like, whoa, why would you do that? Just kind of make things lighter, funner, and keep it just kind of that level of not, okay, who's going to be super serious here at the table kind of thing, right? So it's a real balancing act, though, because some folks, like you said, are hyper competitive. And I found, too, that I have a friend like that, too. And if we just kind of step back and he just dominates, he stops having as much fun. Because he's like, this wasn't even close. It's not even fun. So I try. And then there's that whole, you get some folks who don't care about winning, but they gang up on the person who's in the lead, which is an interesting mix, too. I'm like, I'm not sure that's the right balance or take, because that's not what the game is meant to do.
It's kind of like how we play over here with Magic when we're playing Commander. It's very political, and I'm that player around the table that I never win. Like, I rarely win anything, mainly because I don't really care about the game. For me, it's all the social experience, which is just like you, so it's like I'm the same, where I'm just hanging out with the people, talking about things, and we do get to the point sometimes where we have one friend in our group that always is just the top dog. He wins everything, board games, Magic, so we're always going after him because it's like, he's going to win, and so we kind of want to take down the big dog,
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely,
it's more of a casual experience, though.
A reoccurring group like that where you can have a shared experience. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So,
and I think the whole balance is just like identifying. Like, the hardest part is identifying the type of player. If you're, like, especially at a convention, if you've never played with people, if you've never seen them before, you don't know how their play style is going to go. So it's more about how you balance out your strategy to adapt to that player, because if you're a hyper casual player like myself and you're playing against a hyper competitive player, well, that's what they find fun. So you might find the casual experience fun where maybe they won't want to talk to you and they're just heads down.
Right.
Well, hopefully there's other people around that you can talk to, or, you
Right.
know, like just think about it. This is where the flavor text and cards and stuff comes in. Just take your time, enjoy the game while they're enjoying the game their own way, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I try, like you said, that's a great point. And I try to have fun with the flavor text at the table, right? You know, go to the movie trailer voice.
Pause it. Everyone hates the movie trailer voice. Let's go to the comments section. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that question. If you guys have specific strategies that you like to do, let us know in the comments. We'd love to check those out. But let's get to our main episode today. We are going to be talking about Dice Throne. And not just specifically Season 2 that I have here on my table, but 1, 2, re-rolled, all the things, Marvel, new Marvel, old Marvel.
Before we jump in, I just have to ask this question of you. Because of the Marvel stuff, how much do you go back to play those old characters?
Yeah. I'm one of those guys that isn't necessarily cult to the new all the time.
Okay.
I like to mix it up, and I'm very much a fan of modularity in games. So I actually play with the old characters quite a lot.
Nice.
Specifically, we were talking beforehand. My buddy and I actually made a tournament. So I created a tournament bracket, and we have all the characters, including the new Marvel.
Yeah.
Not the newest Marvel, but because we don't have that yet. But we're doing a 24-team single elimination just with all the old characters and the new characters.
Cool.
So I really like it because it really shows the changes over time with like game mechanics and balance and how they do things. Because
it's huge.
It's super huge. And like, frankly, the new characters are not as balanced compared to the old characters. I mean, like, not balanced with the old characters. I've played many times where it's like, for example, the ninja. Obviously, they're like a level 1 or very easy. But it's like you're trying to play the ninja versus, let's say, Captain Marvel or Vampire Lord.
Right.
Very different.
Very, very different.
Very different play styles and like simple versus complex and dangerous. So that's my only like negative about it, but I really like playing all the characters.
If you don't know Dice Throne, which is very sad if you don't know it, but it's all about dice chucking. You know, heart-pounding battles where you control a unique hero with distinct powers. Each character feels like a game in itself, making every match a fresh experience. I just love that idea about, you know, that it is a Yahtzee style game, but it's just so enhanced from that.
Yeah,
so,
it's battle-Yahtzee, but with steroids.
Yes, exactly. It's just
the game's published by Roxley Games, and Dice Throne has gotten big enough where it's almost Dice Throne as a company themselves. I think it's still with Roxley technically, but Dice Throne is kind of like its own thing. Designer Nate Chatelier, Aaron Hine, and Manny Tremblay. Art by amazing Manny Tremblay, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, you were talking about battle-Yahtzee. I mean, in the theme and story, the theme and story is a little bit, you know, it's a little abstract where what is this, like this high king that you're trying to go fight for dominance to win something? I'm not very good at that part.
Yeah. But then the story has even evolved over the different years of the different sets and things. So I don't know if there's really a standard story. And that's why I looked for a general theme paragraph about this, you know?
Yeah, because I know like the newest set they just announced that they're going to be coming out with is like all about like Outer Worlds or something like that.
Yes.
So that's obviously like within their storyline of like the council and the king, but it's still going to be like very out there. Everything is kind of like its own story.
Yep.
If you didn't know what Dice Throne was, so it's essentially a fast-paced 2 to 6 player combat game. It says 2 to 6 players. I personally, we're going to talk about that later.
Yep.
I think it's really just a 2-player game, in my opinion. But you're going to choose from a variety of heroes to play as, and they're all going to be asymmetric, and they feel very distinct from one another. You're going to attack your opponents, activate abilities by rolling your hero's set of 5 dice. So every hero has 5 dice. Really sweet dice we'll talk about.
Yeah.
You're going to accumulate combat points and then spend those combat points on cards that have a range of effects. Such as granting permanent hero upgrades, applying status effects, and manipulating dice directly, yours and your opponent's. So there's good player interaction in the game as well.
I don't know if I agree with the whole 2 versus.
Well, let's get into it.
Yeah,
Hot topic.
let's get into it. Like you said, it is battle-Yahtzee, and it's like I loved Yahtzee growing up and stuff as a kid. But again, dice checker, right? But I don't think because of Dice Throne, I don't think I could ever go back and play Yahtzee because I always want. I know it's silly, but I always want to play Dice Throne when I think of that Yahtzee style game, right? Just presentation alone, this game is phenomenal, right? Just on that, and especially when they went back and made the battle chests and how everything is combined. Each character is in their own box, which is so beautiful. You can literally just I'm just going to take my favorite character with me. I love how they did that. It's so well done. And again, like you said, the dice. Let's talk about the dice. Every character has unique dice to them, which unique symbols. It's not just numbers. I just love that aspect. Really, and especially with the Marvel characters, they've really themed the dice well to those characters.
Do you have like the deluxeified battle chest or whatever and everything?
Not the original,
Not
but
the original
I have
one?
the others. I've
Okay.
got like the Marvel one, the first Marvel one, and then I have got the prototype still of the new Marvel. So
Because I think like the dice are different in like the retail versions than they are
Oh.
in the deluxeified version.
I did not know that.
I think so. Don't quote me here.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I think these dice are like 10 times better, like in the dice chest.
Wow.
The battle chest.
Yeah,
Just by
I've
the way
never-
they feel, and they're like the crystalline pattern and stuff.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Super cool.
I don't think I've even seen the retail. I'm going to go hunt one down and find it.
Yeah. Again, don't quote me on that. I don't know if I'm right. But I think let's jump back into the discussion of
Sure.
the 2-player versus multiplayer.
Let's do
Again,
that.
obviously you have like a big family
Yeah.
that you get to play with. For me, I don't have that. So again, I'm
Sure.
primarily playing it as a dueling experience. And I have played it a few times at the 4 to 5 player count. But for me, it was kind of like at 5 players, you're always going to get, it seems like that one person that gets ganged up on, and then they're basically out. So then it's one of those skirmishy style things where you're out for a long time. And in this kind of game, you have to roll dice, and then there's multiple abilities. You each would
Yep.
play cards. I didn't find that experience to be super exciting because like we had 2 people just out, and they were just like on their phones, and I'm like, it
Yeah,
doesn't seem
right.
very fun. I want to keep in the action. I do like it at 3, actually, quite a
Really?
bit. Yeah, because I love that mechanism. They do something like that in Magic where it's like if you attack the person who's in the lead, you draw a card.
Yep.
I love that interaction. It's called Monarch, I think, in Magic.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And at 3, I felt that this is like my favorite experience is at a 3-player count.
So for me, I felt like 3 was the one where most likely someone will have to sit out for a long time. So that's why 3 was not my favorite, because then you really have that third person who's like, the fifth wheel or whatever.
The 5th wheel.
So, but I liked the tag team aspect of like 4 and then 6, where it's like literally a grudge match, tag in kind of feeling, and I don't get to play that way very often. I've only done it a handful of times at most. Usually it's 2-player though. I mean, and that's the way I generally play the game. But
I'd say it was primarily like designed as a 2-player
Yes.
experience, and then they scaled it upon that, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of weird things, not weird, but different things that happen based on that higher player count. But
Variants and all that
variants
kind of
and all
stuff.
that kind of stuff. So yeah, I agree that I probably prefer it as 2 in general. So yeah.
And to be fair, I also haven't played the tag team mode.
Yeah.
Because I just had never had enough people.
Never
and
to
I
do
haven't done this as like a big group at a convention either. So it's like I might have a changed experience what if I do a tag
Yeah.
team. I
Yeah,
like working with
definitely-
other people. So.
I've only done the tag team thing once, and it was really fun, I thought. But it's still, if I was given the choice, I probably would still pick 2-player.
Yeah.
Not because I feel like that's really the only way to play. It's just because I've just had more fun playing that way in general. So
Yeah, and I'm one of those guys that in games, I don't really like having to use variants for my scalable experience because
Right.
as a 2-player game designer myself, like I primarily design at 2 and then scale up.
sure.
This one felt like a design at 2 that was scaled up, and scaling up is quite hard to do to keep in the same vein as like the original game.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of when games do that because it's like not meant to be that, but they're trying
Yep.
to force it in. not to say Dice Throne isn't great at those higher player counts.
Sure.
I'm not a personal fan of when games do that.
Yeah.
But
What about the adventure version where you're co-op playing and moving through the dungeon and such? I found that to be really fun.
I haven't played Adventures yet. I really want to. I'm going to wait for a convention to be able to play that. But I did get the newest, the X-Men, not Adventures, but whatever the new cooperative.
Oh, yeah. That one, I didn't actually get to play it. They told me all about it, and I got to see it and so forth. But I didn't get to play it for, my video I did. So I'm very excited.
You're also going into it kind of blind then.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one, though.
Yeah. I think that's the way the multiplayer should work for this game, is the co-op modes and then the battle modes and so forth that they have, especially Adventures. Man, I really thought, wow, this is a next level version of Dice Throne. So yeah.
Well, in dungeon crawls, we all know that's not like my favorite thing either.
I know.
So it's like Adventures. I already was on the fence, and when I'm on the fence like that, I kind of just say I'll wait to play it and then get it after that.
Yeah, a convention setting would be really fun though, right?
Yeah, of course. I have to not be working at a convention, which
This
is like
true.
very rare
This is,
for this to work. But can you tell the people a little bit how the game plays? Just give an overview of like the mechanics and how it all works.
Yeah, so I mean, it's basically you're rolling your dice and then you're putting pairs and sets together of the dice to activate your abilities. And along the way, you'll have cards in hand that you can play and augment things, but you also have a series of tokens that can be basically achieved or gotten from the different abilities that you put into play and so forth. So that's really a neat thing. And then beyond that, you can upgrade abilities with cards. So they just slide over the top of the same ability and it just enhances it in some way. All those things come together, and it really comes down to your dice rolls though, and how you use those dice with the certain abilities and how those activate and trigger other things from your hand as well as from the tokens that you can put out on the players or on yourself. It's really an interesting aspect, but it does come down to your dice rolls in the end.
Yeah, it's very much like one of those games. It is a dice rolling game. Like there is a lot of luck in the game. Yeah, you get the cards that you can alter things, but again, there's luck with card draw. You have to know what you're drawing. But what I find fascinating about these mechanisms is that there is a main phase card, an instant speed card, and then a roll phase card.
Yep.
Which basically what the roll phase means is anytime you were to roll during a roll phase, you can play that card to alter dice, manipulate dice, do stuff like that.
Yep.
But in
and
the
you
main
have
phase
abilities
card,
that do that as well. So, based on a token maybe you've placed on yourself, things like that.
The tokens are super cool because some of them you can do at instant speed, some of them you can only do on your turn, and so hyper asymmetric characters.
Yeah,
which is super fun about it.
Yeah.
But I also love there's main phase cards, so you have to play those in Magic terms, sorcery speed. And you have to play those on your turn, and they usually do something a little bit more powerful, like transferring status effects, removing status effects, stuff like that. And we just played the other night, my buddy and I did, and he had like 5 status effects of different things on my board. I was just oh my gosh. He played the Seraph, and that's the one where there's like 6 different things on your leaflet.
Yes.
But then I have like the Tactician, who is all about, using the tactical advantage to do crazy stuff. And it's so cool to see the abilities and the powers that they all have.
Yeah. Definitely.
But you start out with 2 combat points and 50 life. So the goal, in a 2-player game.
But you can augment those things to whatever you want to do. It's a bit sandboxy, actually.
Yeah, you could be like, let's start with 15 combat points.
Yep.
That's a little insane.
It really can shorten up the game if you do stuff like that. So,
yeah, it's one of those where you can speed it up, shorten it up, kind of the way you want to do it. So that's fun. But I know a lot of people give it like the negative rap because it is battle-Yahtzee. But I'm not a fan of that side of the because I just first off, Yahtzee is a decent game and it's been around forever, right?
Yeah.
So it's obviously a decent game. And then I love battling games. So Yahtzee, battler, obviously there's more to it. It's not just Yahtzee, but we say Yahtzee because it has that main mechanism of you could roll the 3 dice, re-roll any of your dice once, and then you could do it one more time. That's kind of like the only reason. And then it has large straight, small straight.
All that kind of stuff.
All that stuff. Yep. So it's just like you said, it kind of upgrades Yahtzee for me.
Yep.
Like I'll definitely play Yahtzee still if my grandparents want to play.
Oh well,
or whatever.
yeah.
But
There's exceptions for sure.
there's exceptions to that. But of course, I love to have this experience, and so there's a lot of cool mechanisms in the game that I think even as a first-time player, picking up like the ninja, for example, or the barbarian, usually those are the first two you'd pick up.
Yep.
You have a lot of fun things you can do in just those beginning characters.
Yes.
So I love how you can pick and choose whatever you would like. But let's
Definitely.
talk about, we're kind of talking about the components a little bit, but let's dive in a little bit deeper into the components. One thing I really love that they do is, I think, what was it? Gavin, I believe he's a product designer by trade.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so they've designed these game trays. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see literal game trays that you could just put everything in and just carry it with you. You don't even need the battle chest.
Right.
You can just put these two
Just
in
take
your bag.
Favorite character with you, do whatever convention or whatever.
Yeah, and like the I don't have like upgraded tokens or anything, but even the cardboard chits look really nice.
Look really nice.
Superb quality. Then, of course, back to the cards. It has a linen finish. It's been a while since I said linen finish.
Yes.
And it feels good inside to say it.
It does indeed.
But the cards are, again, very, it's like a glossy linen finish here, and the color pops on all of them. So their printer did a fantastic
And
job.
of course, the artwork pops just alone from Manny
we'll
Trimbley.
talk about that here. But yeah, I think one thing that is my favorite thing about the components is just the board and how it was designed. Because it's basically a 3-tier board where it's foldable, and you have the character on the middle, you fold it out, and then boom, you have all the character's abilities and the character in the middle. Oh, is that Iceman?
It is Iceman.
I'm so jealous. I can't wait to play Iceman. But it's so cool because like the art spans across it, and then each of these places you could put your cards on, and each of them have their own art as well. So I love that aspect of the game.
Again, that whole presentation, and just like, oh yeah, this is my character. You get that total from all of the things, and again, just if you have the beautiful dice, I mean, look at these.
Yeah, those are so... I can't wait. I'm so ready. I'm just ready to play Marvel X-Men.
Yes.
It's not here yet.
It's so good. And, I only have the 4 characters. Yeah, only the 4. So
yeah, now, of course, like, since I have the battle chest, I'll never go back.
Yeah,
like, after buying the battle chest, I'm like, well, they hooked me. I'm going to buy all the battle chests.
Yep, that's what I did with Avengers and so forth. Yeah, I'm the same way. So
yeah, and I can't wait to see where the future goes with this. But that's the components. There's nothing else really to say about it. It's all high quality stuff. Roxley always puts out a really good product.
And I don't even feel the need to upgrade the tokens because they look so good in cardboard.
Yeah,
so,
they're great. And I think I upgraded my tokens in the X-Men thing just because I wanted to see it. But you don't need it.
That's true. I think I did the same. But in general, I wouldn't have thought about it if they didn't offer it, right?
Right, exactly. But I know you were antsy to talk about the artwork and the graphics.
I am.
So let's
excited.
jump over to that. Who is our artist?
Oh, Manny Trimbley, who does some of the best, most amazing art. Probably in my top 3 favorite artists within the board game world. Absolutely. Yeah. So anything he works on, I'm like, yep, I want it.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's also a game designer, a really good game designer as well. So,
and he's just such a nice guy, such a good guy. So, the thing I love too about what he did with like the Marvel and Avengers, the Avengers and X-Men, I mean. So I love the fact that they got to do unique, brand new art for these characters. There wasn't something he had to leverage from, and obviously they had to go rounds and rounds of approvals. Even for my video, I had to go approval rounds with Marvel before it went up for the different characters. So I just love that they went that route and took the time to get it right and do something unique and different. So yeah,
it's always tough to work within an IP too, because there's, like you said, all the red tape. You have to go all over the place to try and get one thing done, and it takes forever usually. Yes. There's so many hands dipped in there. But I think one of my favorite things about the art, because obviously Manny Trimbley is amazing. He's an absolutely fantastic artist, in my top 10 for sure. And one of my favorite things about this specifically is that I remember watching a documentary where Manny was actually talking about his experience crafting up these characters. And the season 1 specifically, I think, the characters were based around his life.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys knew that, but like,
I did not see that.
We'll link the documentary below because it was super fascinating. Because he was talking about how, you know, he created like the ninja because he wanted to be a ninja himself, like internally when he was a kid or something like that.
Cool.
And it's like all of these drawings had some sort of asset from his real life experience.
That's so cool.
I was like, it really just adds that sentimental value to the already amazing game. So I hope you guys go check that out because I really enjoyed that.
I'm going to go check it. I didn't even know there was a documentary.
It was so random because it wasn't like really out there. I kind of had to find it through something else.
Oh, that's so cool.
I don't even remember what it was or where it was at, but we'll link it below, hopefully, if you can find it. And then, of course, you have to talk about the graphic design is just as clear as like any game, right? So like the cards, they make it super easy to know where it's an upgrade because it's a white border, and all it is you put this over top the text.
It's right onto the board like it should, right? It's not. It doesn't stand out as being something different or odd. The one other thing with like the actual cards that I'm not a huge fan of is that there's a 2 and a 3 on the cards, right? Well, that would mean that on the board it's a 1, but they don't show it as a 1 on the board. Oh, I see.
So for us, we're like, wait, why is Glamour 2 being played first? When it's not the first one. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
So, like, I'd rather have it be 1 and 2, and then 0 would be the board.
Interesting. I didn't even think of it in that aspect, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
That was just like a product design thing that I was like really focused on, and it bugs me to this day.
That's so funny.
I'm like, it should be 0, 1, 2. I'm sure they had a reason for that.
Sure.
But, you know, that's just me talking.
Yeah, I guess it didn't even click with me until you said that. That's now.
There you go.
You
learned to hear first.
Every time I play now, it's gonna bug me. Thanks a lot.
You're gonna be like, wait, oh crap, 2 is that 1? I don't know.
Wait a minute.
But yeah. So art, of course, amazing. The graphic design is so superb, and they just leave so much room for expansions, and I'm just so excited all the time.
And all the abilities on those cards and on your board, it's just super quick and clear to know based on the dice that you roll what's what and what.
Yeah, because it's all just iconography. You know. And then iconography and numbers on the dice, super clean, very easy to read. There are some sets of dice that are harder to read than others.
Sure.
I know like I mentioned Seraph earlier.
Yeah.
Really beautiful dice, but really hard to see from a distance. Like they kind of all blended in, the color scheme did. And I also had reflections too.
Yeah, right.
So that's not helpful.
Does it as well.
But yeah, overall, great art and graphic design. But you know, one thing that Roxley, I think, does very well is just how they integrate their community. And their culture around their games are just usually amazing. And with Dice Throne, it's almost its own community now. It's grown leaps and bounds since the original came out. And now it's like everywhere. They're making billion-dollar campaigns, it seems like, every time. And they just started. I know they hired some people out. They have a nice team now where they're doing competitive tournaments. Like they're going out and doing battle tournaments at local game stores and conventions and doing really cool stuff like awesome promos for tournaments and fancy boards. And I wish I was a good enough player to play in those tournaments. You know what I mean?
Me too.
Because it does look like fun, but I'm just not a competitive.
And in general, I don't really... in any game, I don't gravitate towards those tournaments or things, or I just like to play for fun.
Yeah. I like to the World Series of Board Gaming, as we're recording this, is currently happening. And I'm over there like, man, the Dice Throne already has tournaments. I just can't wait for it to be in WSBG. You know, and it's going to be an easy fit, you know, obviously probably next year or the year after.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so excited. I would even go just to be a part of it and watch people play competitively.
Yep.
Because I like watching competitive games.
I do too.
Because it's like fascinating to me how people's brains work. And then I'm like, well, I definitely couldn't do that. But hey, I'm having fun. So that's what matters.
Exactly. No, that would be great. I'm very surprised it's not already part of the World Series of Board Game. I'm really surprised it's not already there.
I'm sure it's in the works. I'm sure there's some plans. And, of course, you have the Marvel thing again. Who knows if there's some IP stuff you have to dance around.
Who knows?
But But yeah, so of course their culture is amazing. Their community stuff is so great. I will say one negative thing about the community that they did have when X-Men came out. There was big discussion about Iceman and how everyone for some reason hated Iceman, and I'm just like, you're complaining about something that's this guy's passion. You know, like he illustrated this character the way he wanted. Yeah.
The thing with Iceman is that I didn't hate Iceman, but I definitely had this vibe of how you feel about Aquaman, right? You're like, it's Aquaman. So Iceman, when I got the set, because I did 4 of them. I did, Wolverine, Storm, and Psylocke, and Iceman. So yeah, those 4. So the thing is that Iceman I saved to do last. So I did 4 separate videos on one in each character. And I was like, not excited about doing Iceman, not at all. But after playing all of them, Iceman is by far my favorite.
The mechanics of Iceman are so sweet.
So sweet. And I know we're going to talk about favorites here, but in general, Iceman, it might be my all-time new favorite because he does some amazing things. He can freeze your dice so you can't like ratchet them up and down, I think. Let's see, what do we got? We got ice shards. He does glide.
Crosses the board. You can like do 2 things.
So glide.
That's so cool.
I'll show it again here if you watch it on YouTube. But you can see on his board that he has arrows that point down and from the different powers.
Oh, I didn't realize there was arrows.
Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
Basically, when you use that glide power, you can activate that next power as well.
That's so cool.
So it's like so incredibly powerful. He's just an amazing character and so well thought out. And I thought it was going to be Wolverine was going to be my favorite. I was so excited. But I mean, I did enjoy Wolverine. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Iceman just took me by surprise. I really was not excited about it either. I mean, I wasn't hating on it, but I was like, yeah, whatever, Iceman. But he's just so good. He's absolutely my favorite character at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, jumping right over to that favorite character is my favorite character. Obviously, I don't have the X-Men. I didn't get to preview and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So from the actual Marvel one that I have, it's really a toss-up between Thor and Loki. I love the play styles of both of them. I love how Thor, the hammer, is just so funny. It's just
so funny.
So thematic how you're chucking it at people's faces and they're retrieving it and hitting them again. And it's like, you know, there's one card, it's like a recoil or something where it's literally toss up to 6 times.
Yes,
so you're just hitting them back and forth.
So good. And that's the way it should be with Thor.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, with Loki, I love like deception, and I'm usually like a rogue type player, counter spell player and magic. You know, not so much now, but I was. And so like the whole idea of, hey, I could place the 3 cards down. You don't know where it is. You have to draw one. It could be success, fail, or partial success, right? So it's so fun to be able to read the opponent and be like, they picked the middle this turn. Will they pick a middle again because they picked it last turn? Yeah. It's super tough for some people. Yeah. Like my friend, I thought I could read him well, and then he just dominated. I was like, dude, why'd you pick the middle 3 times in a row? Like, it's crazy.
I think Loki was the one. Isn't Loki the character I played when we played? It was the first time I believe so. Yeah, we played on live stream. The first time I played Loki, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is pretty good.
Yeah, it's super fun to play. But that's probably my favorite Marvel character. Who's your favorite non-Marvel character?
It still will always be, even though it's probably one that most folks will play first because it's easiest really to jump into, is the Barbarian. Because even as a kid, in D&D and such, I would always gravitate. So as soon as I got that, I'm like, I'm playing the Barbarian. So I played him. And literally, he just comes out swinging, right?
he's
got
powerhouse.
That done. He's such a powerhouse, and I love that. And that's what the Barbarian should be about, right? And so I love that aspect. It's full on aggressive and chopping away, right? So the concussion as well. I think it's concussion.
Knockback,
knockback, or maybe that's
something like that. Yeah, it's really frustrating.
But I haven't played the Barbarian since the Marvel stuff came out.
Oh man. You need to at least get back to it one game.
Yeah. The only other characters beyond Marvel that we have to talk about is the Santa and Krampus combo set that is so much
holiday
fun. Holiday set, and it is a blast playing those two.
Honestly, those two are so balanced with each other. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Like I remember playing them because I of course wanted to back it right away. I was like, I love this. Santa Crep is such a fun idea, and I got the little miniatures and everything for them. But when I played it, I was like, yo, this was so balanced. I think we played 3 games and it was like 0 to 4, like 3 life left or something, and it's so fun to be able to use like the minions or whatever it is, and like Santa's presents and gifts. Presents.
Yes, I just love so thematic to what they are, right?
And I think that's one thing Dice Throne does really well is they design thematics super well.
Oh yeah, and Krampus has some freeze stuff. I can't remember how it works off the top of my head, but some cold stuff that he uses. It's really
like
good.
coal or negative. There's so many cool things.
So much fun.
But
then that's the nice thing too about having so many characters that even if you played one a bunch, like Barbarian, I played a ton, and now if I sat down with Barbarian, I'd kind of have to look at things again and go, "Oh yeah, let's try this." And
there's so much. There's so much. The world is so vast.
Yeah,
that you can keep going.
I love that as well, right? So
my favorite character is still probably Huntress.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I love the thematic. I'm very much like a nature-y kind of person, and I love the idea of working with animals. And like controlling animals and things like that. So I love Nira and the Huntress. It's such a cool idea because it's like a companion. That's the first companion they had, really. And it was, Nira has their own little dice or combat points or health points. You could flip it over. It is a little sad because it's almost like you're throwing Nira at the damage and then they die, but then they come back. So that's a little sad, I guess, when you think about it like that. But I love the mechanics of the Huntress most, and then the theme aligns with me.
Literally, some of the best artwork was on her, so it was so beautiful.
Yeah, and I know a lot of these things we're talking about, they did have to release a upgrade, like a leaflet, because there was some issues with balance, and I know we have to bring that up because I am playing the tournament bracket right now, and so I had to get the leaflets that were upgraded.
Sure.
So thankfully, I did buy the Marvel set, the last one, and they sent those leaflets in that just as a free thing, so that was kind of nice. But it's like looking at the old ones versus the new ones, it's like, wow, they really had to change a lot because Tactician to this day I think is still the most powerful. That is so crazy good.
It is,
and I'm just
really
like,
good.
how do you beat that character? It just does everything you want and more.
It's true,
but we'll see. I mean, it's still in the running for the tournament, so we'll see who can beat him out.
Interesting. I suspect Iceman.
Yeah, I can't wait. I know there's been delays and all sorts of things like that with that campaign, but that actually leads me to my next question. And this is going to be a hot take. So if you don't like hot takes, leave now. But they just recently announced that they will be launching another campaign, even though they haven't fulfilled X-Men.
Right.
And I know a lot of people are going to be really not for that. That's like, you want to fulfill your campaign and then go to another one if you're asking for $1 billion again. So I'm curious, which side of the fence are you on? We'll keep it amicable, as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious too. For me, in general, it depends on the publisher. So for Roxley and everything they've done with Dice Throne, I'm fine, right? Because I know they're going to fulfill. They're not going anywhere. There's not a worry that I'm not going to get X-Men. So, and if they put up 2 more campaigns, I would go all in on both.
Based on like the track record for you, then?
Yeah, based on the track record. Now, there's other publishers where I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole because they haven't released the last 2 games that they've done. Things like that have happened, right? So
there's been actually a lot of that going on, and so you really have to really find, take a look at it. And for me, it's just like right now I'm in a tough spot, anyways. So for me, I'm not probably going to back this one just financially.
Yeah,
but I think I'm with you on that. It's all about the publisher.
It is.
Roxley, I have had no concerns about. And I think, again, it goes back to community and communication. Because if you over-communicate and be transparent as much as possible, then, there's still going to have people that hate you or, be mean the whole time. But I think what Nate did was really smart.
Mm-hmm.
I think releasing that video saying, hey, we talked with our team, and like framing it in a PR standpoint where our team has been working on this product while our other team is fulfilling. Like, because the delays are out of their control.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's another thing you have to take into account is the events of the world that are slowing everything down.
Yeah. And
So,
just recently, this is kind of like something outside of the Beyond, but I know there's been port talks right now about stopping the ports for a long time, and strikes
Crazy.
and stuff like that. Man, it's something that we can't put all of it on Dice Throne because
No way.
most of it's not on them.
Yep.
But that's our takes on that. So who is this game for, and who is this game not for, Mark?
Well, it is for number one for lovers of Marvel and such. Obviously, with those IPs, if you like those characters and you get to embody those characters, it's going to be right up your alley. Now, if you're someone who doesn't like luck in games, this is not for you because it really does, like I said, come down to dice rolls. But I found, especially in 2-player games, you play so quick and fast and back and forth, and you get to swap out characters that it really, for downtime, it's very little. You can just really jump into the next match and so forth. So, so if you like to plan your moves 5 moves ahead, and you like to trade wheat, this is probably not a game for you.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you're playing Catan on the regular, that this is going to be a very different experience.
Definitely.
But yeah, I agree with you that obviously this is a dice checking style game, so there's going to be a lot of luck, a lot of variance. The cards do give you good alterations of the dice, but again, it's card draw, so it's all luck there as well. Some characters are more balanced than others, and you just have to know that going in to it. And I think that's why I'm okay with it, because I play duelers all the time, and I play games where it's usually modular. Some characters are just better, and you just know that going in. And you can kind of, do that with your play group. Like, hey, who's the new player? Well, they can have one that's more powerful, or the veteran can have a weaker character and stuff like that. So,
and I actually like when the character seems, at least on the surface, seems to be weaker, and then you're like, I need to play this one. Like, I'm more engaged to play it more often because it's a challenge, and I want to see what the combos are and how the cards come together in order to make this character not feel that weak, right? So I actually like that aspect.
Yeah, you said a good point there about feeling it, experiencing it. They may be unbalanced, but they don't feel unbalanced sometimes.
Right, yeah.
Unless it's the tactician versus the ninja, where it's 30 to 0, that was a little rough. But outside of that,
Yeah, and it's definitely a game all about the experience, right?
Yeah.
It's an experiential type game, and it has that in spades. I mean, it is just hugely that. So, yeah. And it's also worth mentioning that each of these characters has the ultimate power. So it's literally every one of your dice need to be the appropriate face in order to activate this soul-crushing power.
True Yahtzee form.
It really is just bring the hammer, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's always really powerful abilities, too.
Always. Yep.
You want to do that. It's really fun when you can use those cards to alter to 6s and be like, ultimate
That's one of
power.
those epic moments, right? You're like, yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at Vampire Lord right now, and, Exsanguinate is their ultimate attack. And basically, you can search for the deck for any card, put it in your hand, and shuffle. So you get a tutor for any card you want.
That's awesome.
And then deal 10 damage. It's usually 10 damage or more.
Usually 10. Let's see. What is Iceman's?
Thor has 14, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think his is more. So it's Ice Storm for Iceman.
Ice Storm.
Yes. So this one scores 5 ice shards and inflicts 2 dice cubes as well, so freezing their dice, and deals 13 damage.
Oh my gosh. Wouldn't it be nice to deal 13 damage on basic attacks, Mark?
Yes, it would. It would be so great. Yep.
Awesome. So, yeah, we wanted to mention that because rolling your ultimate is really that fun experience of the game. Like, if you're like, you're 5/5/5s or 6/6/6, and then you need one more, boom, final dice roll, you get it, ultimate, you kill them, and boom. That is the experience of the game.
It is truly that epic moment in the game.
Yeah. It's all about that final dice roll. But now it's all about a nice segment we like to talk about called The Beyond. And we're going to talk about something inside or outside the board game industry we are excited about.
Whatever, anything really that we want to chat about, right? So
I'll go ahead and go first.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm gonna go first because I just want to.
You're going to go first.
I am. I'm going to go first because mine is a big thanks. So I've had a rough week, and so with family emergencies between our dog Alita, my kidney stone, and my daughter had emergency surgery. So everyone is doing well, and recovering. And I just want to say a big thanks to all the publishers out there who've been so understanding and with all my workload and just been, oh, don't even worry about it. Take whatever time you need. So I really appreciate that about the board game industry in general, in that, not everybody has flexibility, and I understand that, but just when there is, that they're just so kind about it and they understanding about that's just way too many things happening to you. You take your time, and just that's their first response. Not like, well, when do you think you can have it? So I really just, in general, I just want to say big thanks. I appreciate all the publishers.
Yeah, I love the industry for that very reason.
Yep.
Everyone, for the most part, seems okay with that stuff. Obviously, life happens.
Yeah.
There's not much we can do about it, so we have to adapt and keep moving forward.
Yes, indeed.
And this year has not been the best for you, so it's
No.
like, you need a break, man.
It's been a whole series of things. I definitely could use a real vacation.
Yeah. So for my Beyond segment, my daughter's officially won as of yesterday. So, woo, 2 days ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did you do the whole cake thing? Let her stick her hands in the cake?
We did, but we hosted a little birthday party this last weekend at the local shelter here, and we had a good amount of people. We had 30 people attend. It was great, and we did the cake thing. But my daughter did not shove her face in it at all. She's a very precise eater.
Nice.
When she eats right now, she takes her fingers with yogurt and just smears it in her mouth. That's it. She doesn't do the whole smash her face, doesn't try to eat it. So I thought that was kind of hilarious because we're all filming, waiting for her to do something. And she's just like, nothing. It was adorable. I love my daughter. And then we took her for her actual birthday on Tuesday, we took her to the pumpkin patch in the local area. So got a bunch of pictures, got to do cool stuff with pumpkins and stuff.
Cool.
And we actually grew our own pumpkins in our garden this year. So we'll actually get to carve our own homemade pumpkins. So
that is
fun.
so cool. Yeah, I've pictures from when I was a kid, and my parents said they had to take my hands and shove them into the cake because I was not having it.
So that is our discussion around Dice Throne. They have a Season 1, Season 2, Marvel, and now they're going to have Marvel X-Men, and I don't remember what the new one's called. Do you remember?
I can't remember either. I looked at it briefly.
Outer Space or something
crazy.
something
like that. Yep.
Out of This World or something. So look forward to that. And then, of course, they have Dice Throne Adventures and the new multiplayer cooperative coming out as well. Yep. So thank you all for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate it. If you liked what you heard, go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that bell notification icon so you know when we release new episodes. You can follow our show on social media at Roll and Reflect and at Roll and Reflect Podcast. Thank you to Andrew for the reflection question and Laura for the timestamps. Of course, we wouldn't be here without all of you high rollers, so appreciate you for listening. And until next time, may your games be legendary.
And your rolls be epic.
And keep rolling those sixes.
Yes.